Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how I sketch faces in my style and explain the hatching technique I usually use. To start, I always draw a circle and add guidelines for the face. This include lines for the forehead, eyes, nose, and chin. I also draw an oval on top as a guide for the hairline, like I imagine slicing off the top of an egg. For the eyes, I lightly sketch their general shape, similar to the hollow eye sockets of a skeleton. Then I mark a small shape or line for the nose and mouth. What works best for me is doing a rough sketch of the entire portrait first before refining it later. This way I feel I've made progress early on even if the details aren't perfect. I learned this helps me avoid getting frustrated or losing interest quickly. Before, I would focus too much on one area like the eyes, only to get stuck or feel like something was always off. When I used to finish sketching the eyes in needle before moving on to the other parts, I'd accidentally make them too realistic, which isn't what I'm going for in my style. So now I sketch the eyes slightly, move on to the other areas, and casually build up the whole portrait. For now, I'm using 2H lead to lightly block in some parts like the eyeball, since I plan to make it darker later on. This light base layer helps prepare the paper so that when I add darker leads, it doesn't overwhelm or shock the surface. Starting with light sketching also allows me to build up the shading gradually. I don't need to darken the entire lines later, just in specific areas. The lines naturally get darker on the sides where the shading is heavier and stay lighter in other areas. This creates a nice contrast effect where the transition from light to dark adds subtle details to the sketch. This small contrast makes a big difference and gives the whole drawing a more refined look. Over time, this approach has helped me stay consistent with my sketching style. I also shade using single strokes. When I need the shaded area to appear lighter, I space the strokes farther apart, like when shading the cheeks. I lightly shade other parts like the hair early in the process. This helps balance the sketch and stops me from obsessing over just one part like the eyes and adding too many dark or 3D details too soon. From experience, I noticed that even just adding hair, even if the face isn't fully done with shading, make the whole portrait feel more complete. It's a little trick that keeps me motivated throughout the process. To incorporate my style, I like adding dark and thick lines on the outer edges. It's something I really enjoy because it's so pleasing to my eyes. As As for the sketchbook, I'm using one from Peter Popper Press. I absolutely love it because it's so easy to sketch on, even with a 0.3 2H LED. The lines still look dark enough to shade mid-tones. It works well for lightweight rendering. Before we continue to the second sketch, I'd like to introduce our partner and sponsor for this video, Skillshare. If you're not familiar with Skillshare, it's one of the largest online learning communities for creatives, offering thousands of classes on topics like illustration, design, film, freelancing, productivity, and more. These classes are taught by industry experts, so you're learning from the best to take your skill or even your career to the next level. This fall season has me feeling more productive, so I decided to take a few classes that really interest me. One of my favorite has been Rosalie Hazlett's class on watercolor landscape painting. Also, I have been learning more about drawing people, and this specific class from Sarah Holiday has been really helpful. Skillshare offers a wide variety of classes to help you learn any skill you're interested in, so I highly recommend checking it out. Plus, the first 500 people to use the link in my description below will get a free 1-month trial of Skillshare. A big thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. So we're moving on to the second portrait. For this one, I'm keeping the sketch looser and rougher at start. As always, I start with the eyes, nose, and mouth, still using just a 2H LED. At this point, I'm really just trusting my eyes to follow what I see in the reference, but I also let myself detach from it. I focus on what I'm actually sketching with my hands and try to make it look good in my own eyes. Some of you have asked how I managed to sketch faces with the right proportions while still going for a more stylish look with right proportions. Honestly, I just familiarized my eyes with the overall shapes and the reference first. It takes a lot of practice, like a lot. When I first started, I really struggled to sketch proportionate faces, especially with different expressions and angles. But the truth is, if you just keep at it, sketch after sketch, it gets better over time. There were so many sessions where I felt like my sketches turned out bad, but I realized even those were actually wins because I was still making progress. Every attempt helps your eyes and hands get more familiar with sketching portraits. The key is to keep moving forward. Finish one sketch, move on to the next, and don't overthink it. One day you look back and realize just how much you improved, and it will really blow your mind. Trust me, just keep sketching and it'll come together.